Good morning. Ezra chapter 2. After years of exile, the Israelites have received incredible news. The doors of Jerusalem were open, and they can return to rebuild what had been destroyed. With the proclamation of King Cyrus, the people began their journey back. But it wasn't only the beginning of something such greater. As they gathered their belongings, they were both excited and worried, scared. The journey of Jerusalem was long, and the road was filled with challenges. But more than physical distance, the journey represented the return to God's promise, a renewal of faith, a proclaiming of what was lost. In the midst of their journey, Ezra pauses and remembers an important detail, the names of who had came before. In the second chapter, Ezra read a long list of names, recording those who had returned to Judah. Some names were familiar, while others were long forgotten, but all have one thing in common. They were a part of God's redemption story. As the people traveled, they spoke of their ancestors who once lived in this land and walked in the footsteps of faith. They reminded themselves of the covenant of God had made with their fathers. The promise of their descendants would be that the people was set apart. The names were recorded, and scrolling through the names, they were the foundation of the nation, linked between the present and their past. Now, these people who have province, who came up and captive of exile, Ezra read, the people listened, understanding that there was no ordinary list. This was a list of faithful and a reminder that there was something bigger than themselves. As they arrived in Jerusalem, they began to work of rebuilding the temple, and first was the first priority, but they knew that they had to rebuild the community. It was a physical restoration, but more importantly, it was a spiritual renewal. The foundation of the temple would lay again, and then the foundation of the faith will rise. The work ahead was difficult, and it was time that they united for a purpose. They built not just the walls of the cities, but the hearts of the people. Each person, whether the name was listed or not, played a vital part of God's plan. No effort was too small, no person was unimportant. So today, Ezra 2 teaches us the important lessons of the power of community, heritage, and purpose. Every name on this list had a role to play in God's story. And while we may not all have famous names or be remembered from history, we're all part of the story of God's writing. Our faith, our actions, and our contributions matter. This week, I encourage you to reflect on your own place in God's story. What role are you playing in the community around you? Are you building spiritual foundations of your life, just as Israel rebuilt the temple? No matter how small or large the task, every effort in God's kingdom is significant. Share this message with someone that you could encourage and see the value in their work and faith. Let's commit to working together, building foundation of faith that God has laid for us, trusting that He will restore the new that has been broken. Today, or this past weekend, we were asked what were our children's name, right? Someone asked us what our children's name. And I never really knew. I kind of knew my name, not really. So I looked it up. Chat GDP, or you could look up, online. There's a lot of different places to do, research. Look up your name. See where you came from. See what names and history that follows. Blessed day, one day at a time. We'll get through the entire book of the Bible and read your Bible. Share this word. Let's grow the channel.